There's a simple harmonic framework that every Tin Pan Alley composer used. Once you know it, you'll be able to play solos over hundreds of tunes, by ear. Better yet, instead of focusing on making the changes, you'll be able to start playing the song. In this video, you'll learn what the harmonic framework is, where it comes from, and we'll look at a couple of examples, and then see how to put it into play. And later on, I'll let you in on a couple of secrets that'll blow your mind. You've all heard this chord progression. It's in a lot of tunes. It's called a backdoor cadence. But there's more to it than this, and it might surprise you to learn where it came from. You're probably familiar with this piece too. The Entertainer by Scott Joplin, written in 1902. There's a unique passage at the end of the first section that became the basis for many songs in the Great American Songbook. Now let's break it down. It's basically a 1-4-1-5-1 progression with a couple of chords placed in between. Between the 1 and the 4 is a C over B flat, a C7 chord. That's a secondary dominant, 5-7-4, moving to the 4 chord. But it's the next chord that makes it distinctive. Following the 4 chord is a 4 minor chord. It's a borrowed chord from C minor, the parallel minor. What's amazing is that this simple progression became the framework for countless songs. Tin Pan Alley composers used it, boppers used it, the Beatles and Billy Joel used it, even Bruno Mars used it. Next, we'll assign functions to it. 1 is tonic, 4 is subdominant, and 5 is dominant. The 5-7-4 is an approach chord to the 4 chord, so it also shares the subdominant function. But what about the minor 4 chord? Well, it belongs to a group of chords we call subdominant minor. More on that in just a few minutes. So the resulting functional pattern, tonic, subdominant, subdominant minor, tonic, dominant, tonic. This is the harmonic framework we'll be looking for. So let's look at some examples. As with anything jazz, we start with the blues. In 1928, Louis Armstrong recorded West End Blues. And during the trombone solo, you can hear Earl Hines play the 5-7-4 in measure 4, followed by a 4 chord in measure 5, and then a 4 minor chord in measure 6, before finishing with the 1-5-1. So there's the framework. Tonic, subdominant, subdominant minor, tonic, dominant, tonic. Another example is the A section of rhythm changes. While the original starts with a 1-6-2-5 repeated 3 times, it became common for boppers to replace the chords in measures 5 and 6 with these chords. Now, if that's all there was to it, it would get pretty boring. So composers learned to disguise the progression. To understand how, we need to look at harmonic functions. Diatonic chords are grouped into 3 functions: tonic, subdominant, and dominant. The tonic group includes 1 major 7, 1 6, 3 minor 7, and 6 minor 7. The subdominant group includes 4 major 7, 4 6, and 2 minor 7. And the dominant group includes 5-7 and 7 minor 7 flat 5. Now, as we said, the 4 minor chord is a subdominant minor chord. That's a group of chords borrowed from the parallel minor that contain the flat 6 scale degree. And as you'll see, it's the most important note in jazz. Just ask Barry Harris. The chords in this group include 4 minor 7, 4 minor 6, 2 minor 7 flat 5, flat 7 7, and flat 6 major 7. And we'll include one other chord that, while technically not borrowed, fits in with this group pretty well, the flat 2 major 7. So here are some guidelines. First, chords within each function can be added or substituted for each other. For more on that, check out this video. Second, secondary dominants share the function of the target chord. If a 4 is a subdominant, the 5-7-4 is also subdominant. And third, the 2 chord in a 2-5 progression shares the function of the dominant chord. So that means in a 2-5, the 2 is dominant, not subdominant. This is the way Joe Pass and many other great musicians thought about it. So let's see how that works. Here we have the A section of Cherokee. The framework couldn't be more clear. It starts on a 1 chord, followed by B flat 7, which is a 5-7 of 4 going to 4, E flat major 7. So both of those are subdominant chords. The subdominant minor chord here is A flat 7, the flat 7-7, which creates the backdoor cadence to the tonic. Next, we have a C7 chord. Now it's a secondary dominant, but it's going to 5, not to 2. The 2 chord is part of the dominant function, as is the secondary dominant. Then it resolves to the tonic. And now a word from our sponsor, me. A lot of methods use theory to make things more complicated. But when you use theory the right way, it actually makes music simpler and easier to understand and remember. The theory behind this is pretty deep. I do the heavy lifting so you don't have to. I'll show you how to apply it to songs you want to learn. So you can start playing jazz right away without overloading on scales and theory. If you'd like to know how, book a free trial lesson with me. Click the link down in the description below. Now let's put it into practice. But before we do, we should take another look at the entertainer. When we first looked at this progression, we were only looking at the chords, but it's really the bass line that makes it more distinctive. Now let's plug that line into the blues. It creates a great guide tone line for your solo. And let's see now how it fits in with rhythm changes. The line fits in the last 4 bars, but what about the first 4 bars? Well, the 1-6-2-5 progression is just a cycle that prolongs the tonic. The only purpose of the 6-2-5 is to return back to 1. So the first 4 bars are tonic. And now here's one of the secrets I mentioned. The A section of rhythm changes is essentially an 8-bar blues. I can't tell you what a revelation this was for me, and you'd think it would be common knowledge, and maybe it is, but no one ever told me. So now I'm telling you. And what this means is that in the first 4 bars in both blues and rhythm changes, you can play just about anything as a statement, and then play the changes to finish the section. Dexter Gordon was a master of this. Finally, let's look at Cherokee. Once again, the line fits perfectly. That is until we get to the C7 chord. There, an E is implied rather than an F. So we can either extend the line, E, E flat, and down to D, or treat it as a neighbor tone and return to the F. And actually, there's one other option, and it's the other secret. You don't have to make every change. If you don't play an E there, it'll sound fine. You'll already have established that you know the chords by following the line. Playing an E may sound better, it'll certainly be tighter to the harmony, but it's not required. The end result of this method is to simplify progressions, reducing the number of chords and scales we need to think about so we can focus more on the music. Once you learn to hear it, you'll be able to play lots of them just by ear. And it also makes it easier when you're reading too. Now, composers were pretty creative in disguising the framework, and in upcoming videos I'll be expanding this method as I break down some well-known tunes. You'll want to check them out, so be sure to hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to like and share the video too.